Imagine waking up to find your own country accidentally dropped a hydrogen bomb on itself. No war, no enemy, just a training mission gone horribly wrong. On a cold February night in 1958, a U.S. Air Force bomber was flying over Georgia with a nuclear payload capable of destroying a city. The mission? Routine. The risk? Astronomical. But then, an unexpected collision at 36,000 feet. A jet slams into the bomber. The crew fights for control, and in the chaos, the unthinkable happens. The decision is made. The bomb is released. Not over a war zone, not over enemy soil, but over American waters. It never detonated, but it also was never recovered. To this day, the Mark 15 hydrogen bomb, armed and deadly, may still be sitting just miles off the U.S. coast, slowly corroding in the Atlantic. This isn't a forgotten footnote. It's one of the closest calls in nuclear history, and you've probably never heard of it. This is the true story of the night the United States nearly wiped part of itself off the map. By accident. To understand how America nearly destroyed itself, we must step into the fear-soaked world of the 1950s, the age of duck-and-cover drills, fallout shelters, and the ever-present shadow of the Cold War. After the Soviet Union tested its first atomic bomb in 1949, the nuclear arms race exploded. By 1958, both superpowers had enough firepower to wipe out humanity several times over. The U.S. response? A strategy called deterrence, ensuring that if the Soviets ever attacked, America could strike back instantly and with overwhelming force. This gave rise to the Strategic Air Command, or SAC, a Cold War juggernaut. Its mission was terrifyingly simple. To fulfill that mission, bombers were kept in the air around the clock. Many of them carried live nuclear weapons, even on practice runs. It was called an airborne alert. It was dangerous, it was unstable, but it was policy. And that's why on a cold night in February, a B-47 bomber with a fully armed hydrogen bomb was flying over U.S. soil. Not in wartime, but as part of a routine drill. A drill that nearly ended in disaster. The aircraft in question was a B-47 Stratojet, sleek, fast, and designed to deliver nuclear devastation. On the night of February 5, 1958, it took off from Homestead Air Force Base, Florida, with a four-man crew. Their mission? Simulate a nuclear strike over the Atlantic and return, just a drill. But the cargo was no simulation. A live Mark 15 hydrogen bomb nestled inside the bay. Somewhere over South Carolina, at 36,000 feet, an F-86 Sabre jet joined the exercise. It was flown by Lieutenant Clarence Stewart, assigned to simulate and intercept a standard Cold War maneuver. But something went wrong. Radar miscommunication, misjudged altitude, and then impact. The F-86 tore into the B-47's right wing, shattering part of its structure. Stewart ejected seconds before his jet disintegrated. The bomber still flying, but damaged. Fuel was leaking. The right wing compromised. Control uncertain. Inside the cockpit, Major Howard Richardson and Captain Bruce Kulka, landing with a nuclear bomb in a wounded aircraft, risked detonation, or at the very least a radiological disaster. There was no protocol for this, no checklist for a mid-air collision with a hydrogen bomb on board. They were flying blind, with Armageddon in their cargo hold. Inside the B-47's bomb bay was one of the most dangerous weapons ever created by mankind, the Mark 15 thermonuclear bomb. It was over 12 feet long, weighed 7,600 pounds, and had a maximum yield of 3.8 megatons, more than 250 times the explosive force of the Hiroshima bomb. This wasn't just a nuclear weapon, it was a hydrogen bomb, using fusion, like the sun, to create its explosion. If it detonated, it could have obliterated everything within a 10-mile radius and rendered the surrounding region uninhabitable for generations. And on that night in 1958, this weapon was fully functional. But there was more. Military documents later revealed that this particular bomb was loaded with a plutonium trigger, also known as a pit, the essential component that makes nuclear detonation possible. At the time, the Air Force told the public it was a dummy bomb, missing the nuclear core. But internal memos and congressional testimonies, declassified years later, suggested otherwise. This wasn't a practice round, it was live. And now the B-47 was critically damaged, losing altitude, carrying a bomb capable of wiping out Savannah, Georgia, and then some. The crew had minutes to decide their next move, one that could either save or doom thousands of lives. The B-47 was losing fuel. The damaged wing made the bomber unstable. One hard landing could mean the bomb would detonate or shatter and scatter deadly radioactive material over nearby towns. Major Richardson radioed back to command. The call was clear. They had to drop the bomb. Permission was granted. At 2:00 a.m., just off the coast of Tybee Island, Georgia, the bay doors opened. A mechanical hum. Then a deafening silence. No flash, no explosion, just a massive splash as the bomb plunged into the shallow waters of Wassaw Sound. The crew exhaled. The worst hadn't happened. Lightened, the B-47 limped toward Hunter Air Force Base in Savannah. Miraculously, Richardson and his crew landed the crippled aircraft safely. They had survived. Georgia had been spared, but the bomb was now gone. Somewhere on the ocean floor, fully armed, buried in mud and mystery. What had begun as a routine training flight was now a terrifying new chapter in American history. A nuclear weapon was missing. Within hours of the jettison, the U.S. Navy launched a massive recovery operation. Divers, sonar crews, helicopters, all dispatched to comb the waters of Wassaw Sound, the coastal inlet off Tybee Island. For nearly 3 months, search teams worked day and night. They dragged the sea floor. They sent divers down. They scanned every inch with sonar. The military finally declared it irretrievably lost. They told the public not to worry. They claimed the bomb was missing its nuclear core. They said it posed no danger to the environment or public health. But behind closed doors, officials knew the truth was murkier. The bomb had likely buried itself deep in the seabed, shielded by layers of silt and mud. If it remained intact, it might stay dormant forever. But if corrosion set in, if storms disturbed it, or if someone accidentally found it, the consequences could be catastrophic. The Mark 15 had simply vanished into the murky depths, and for the first time in American history, a fully armed nuclear weapon had been lost on home soil. For years, the government stuck to its story. The TB bomb was inert, dummy, no plutonium core, no real risk. But not everyone believed it. In 1966, 8 years after the bomb was lost, Assistant Secretary of Defense W.J. Howard gave testimony during a classified congressional hearing. What he said contradicted everything. Howard revealed that the Tybee bomb was in fact a complete weapon with a nuclear capsule installed. That single sentence changed everything. This wasn't a training device. It was a fully armed hydrogen bomb, capable of leveling a city. The government's public reassurances had been misleading, perhaps intentionally. If the truth had come out in 1958, public outrage could have been explosive. Instead, the bomb stayed hidden, not just in the sea, but in official silence. Even today, official reports remain vague. Some suggest the bomb's nuclear pit was not on board. Others suggest the core was routinely loaded for such missions. So which is true? One thing is certain. There is no confirmed recovery, no visual verification, no proof of deactivation. Only a 7,600-pound question mark rusting somewhere beneath the waves. And a terrifying realization. The bomb might still be live. Decades passed, the Tybee bomb faded from headlines, but not from history. In the early 2000s, renewed interest stirred when a team of scientists detected unusual radiation levels near Tybee Island. Readings showed spikes in radioactive tritium and other anomalies just miles from where the bomb had been dropped. Local officials asked the military for answers. Once again, they were told, there is no danger, the bomb is stable, it's not worth recovering. But nuclear experts warned otherwise. If seawater breached the bomb's casing, it could lead to plutonium contamination, poisoning marine ecosystems, and leaching into the local food chain. Dr. William Burnett, a respected oceanographer, stated plainly, it's not a question of if the bomb leaks, but when. And still, the bomb remained untouched. Why not retrieve it? Perhaps the risk of disturbing it was too great. Or perhaps the cost, political and financial, was considered worse than silence. Meanwhile, life on Tybee Island went on. Tourists sunbathed. Boats passed above the exact waters where a hydrogen bomb might still be waiting, corroding inch by inch. A weapon never meant to be dropped, lying quietly but never truly forgotten. The Tybee Island incident wasn't an isolated mistake. In military terminology, it became what's known as a broken arrow, a code word for any nuclear accident that doesn't trigger a nuclear war. And there have been more than 32 broken arrows in U.S. history, each one a near miss. In 1961, just 3 years after Tybee, a B-52 Stratofortress disintegrated over Goldsboro, North Carolina, dropping 2 nuclear bombs. One of them deployed its parachute and began its arming sequence. It came within a single faulty switch of detonating. Had it exploded, it would have destroyed most of eastern North Carolina. In 1966, another collision occurred over Palomar, Spain. 4 hydrogen bombs fell. 2 ruptured, scattering plutonium across the countryside. The cleanup lasted years. Parts of the area are still radioactive today. And in 1968, the nuclear submarine USS Scorpion sank in the Atlantic with 2 nuclear-tipped torpedoes on board. It has never been recovered. These weren't wartime mistakes. They were accidents during training, transit, or routine missions. Just like Tybee, the Cold War's nuclear shield was never as airtight as it seemed. The truth is chilling. Some of history's closest brushes with annihilation didn't come from enemy attacks. They came from within. Behind every aircraft, every mission, every near catastrophe are real people. Major Howard Richardson, the commander of the B-47 that night, remained calm under unimaginable pressure. Despite a mangled wing, low fuel, and a ticking hydrogen bomb behind him, he made the call that saved lives. He received the Distinguished Flying Cross for his actions, but never gave many interviews. He didn't seek fame, he just did his duty. Captain Bruce Kulka, the navigator, climbed into the bomb bay mid-flight to inspect the damage. It was he who physically helped release the bomb. One wrong step, one jolt, and he wouldn't have made it out alive. And Lieutenant Clarence Stewart, the F-86 pilot who collided with the B-47, survived only because he ejected seconds before his plane disintegrated. He spent the night in a swamp until he was rescued. These weren't careless men, they were professional. And yet even they, disciplined, skilled, committed, were caught in a system that flew live nuclear bombs over its own people. Not in war, but in preparation for it. And that preparation almost led to disaster. The Cold War ended decades ago. The Soviet Union collapsed. The Iron Curtain fell, but the weapons didn't go away. Thousands of nuclear warheads remain today. Stored, transported, maintained by human hands. Systems built to deter apocalypse still rely on fallible people, aging hardware, and complicated chains of command. The Tybee Island incident should have been a turning point, a red line, but it wasn't. There was no global review, no sweeping reform, no policy shift to end flights with live warheads over civilian areas. In fact, most of the Cold War's nuclear near misses remained classified for years. Why? Because to admit how close we came, to acknowledge the depth of risk, was to admit that we were playing with fire in our own house. And sometimes it wasn't the enemy that nearly destroyed us. It was ourselves. In the end, the Tybee bomb became a symbol, a silent warning rusting in the Atlantic mud. A reminder that, in our quest to be prepared for war, we sometimes come closest to catastrophe during peace. And perhaps the most dangerous weapon isn't the bomb we fire, it's the one we lose. Today, Tybee Island is peaceful. Vacationers stroll its beaches, boats drift across calm waters, children build sandcastles, unaware that just offshore, beneath the surface, a hydrogen bomb may still lie buried. No signs, no barriers, no monument, just water and silence. The Mark 15 rests somewhere in the soft silt of Wausau Sound, its exact location still unknown. Some experts say it's inert now, corroded beyond activation. Others warn that radioactive components like uranium and tritium may still leak slowly into the surrounding ecosystem. But without retrieval or inspection, no one knows for sure. The US government maintains the bomb poses no danger, that disturbing it could cause more harm than good. So it's left there, forgotten by policy, remembered by few, and yet the implications remain chilling. What if a hurricane shifted the seafloor? What if erosion exposed the casing? What if someone found it by accident? For over 6 decades, a weapon designed to erase cities has sat beneath American waters. Unmarked, unrecovered, still ticking, not in countdown, but in corrosion. And perhaps that's even worse. The Tybee Island bomb is more than just a forgotten Cold War mishap. It's a chilling symbol of how close we've come, not through conflict, but through routine mistakes. Through procedures built not on safety, but on the razor's edge of deterrence. It shows us that the greatest threat isn't always an enemy missile. Sometimes it's our own systems, our own assumptions, our own silence. In a world armed to the teeth, we must ask, how many more bombs are unaccounted for? How many errors lie buried in declassified footnotes and lost files? And how long can we keep gambling with fate before the odds turn against us? The Tybee Island bomb still hasn't exploded, and maybe it never will, but its presence, unseen, unanswered, unresolved, should remind us that peace isn't just the absence of war. It's the careful stewardship of power, and when that stewardship fails, history doesn't always give us a second chance. If this story moved you, or made you think twice about the history beneath our feet, consider subscribing to the channel. We uncover the hidden corners of the past, the moments that almost changed everything, but didn't. Leave a comment below. Had you ever heard of the Tybee Island bomb before? And what other Cold War secrets do you think deserve to be exposed? Hit the like button if you want more cinematic stories like this. And don't forget to share. It helps more than you know. Until next time, stay curious, stay aware, and remember, sometimes the most dangerous history is the kind we almost forget.